As you all have seen in my previous demos, I like to take a cocktail and then put a twist on it. This time, I wanted to take us on a journey. The Boulevardier is the stated cocktail, but I wanted to show two variants. We start with a Negroni, we move through the Boulevardier, and then we end on the Vieux Carré. So three things that share a significant amount of their base and their historical complexity, but we move forward through this journey. So, without further ado, welcome. So our first cocktail here we're going to make is the Negroni. Now, Negroni is a very simple, very straightforward cocktail. It's in fact one of those fun ones that you get to build in glass. So start with a cube, and then it is equal parts of gin, sweet vermouth, and Campari. So we'll just go ahead. Today is Hendrick's. Absolutely. I prefer a lot of these to be done in the Manhattan or old-fashioned style, which are served over a large rock in a rocks glass. Yes. 111. Sweet vermouth. So this one here is traditionally garnished with an orange, but it is also exceptionally good with a big slice of lemon. Yep. Yeah, the lemon, especially if you have, I'm working on my my standard peeler, which tries to take minimal material. But if you have one that gets good fat pulls, you can also express it over the drink, and you get that additional zest right on top of your drink. So that's number one. Number two is going to seem very familiar. This one I'm also building as a construct in glass, as it's almost equal parts. The Boulevardier is effectively a Negroni with bourbon. And it's up to you whichever you prefer, straight bourbon, single barrel, hot bourbon, or rye. I personally prefer it with rye, but it works equally well. The traditional is to just use a bourbon. So I'll be using our Bullet 95 rye, as well as the previous two, sweet vermouth and Campari. This one has slightly different ratios. It's 1.5 to 1 to 1. So it's a 1.5 of Bullet, followed by the ordering as you construct in glass does not matter. No. Correct. Yep. The one place where it does matter is if you're actually in food service. When you're working behind a bar, the idea is that you work from least expensive to most expensive. So this is where you'll put your your mixer or whatever, as long as it's not a fizzy cola, and you build from least to most expensive with your primary liquor as the last piece. And the reason for that is that if you mess up the proportions, you put too much, too little, whatever it happens to be, you can toss it out and you're not losing expensive product. And then you finish it with soda top or other fizz, and then your garnish. So here, just like before, building glass, give it a quick mix. Garnish optionally. I'm just going to reuse my other one with this one, and enjoy. And at some point, I will get some clear ice and one of the cube remelters so that I can get perfect spheres. Now, the third one, I've spent a lot of time researching clear ice. I just don't have the freezer space right now for a cooler. This final one is quite a bit more complex. The Vieux Carré, there are a number of variations, there are a number of simplifications, but my preferred one is also what seems to be the most classic one. Without digging into the historical literature, this is pretty much what I find as the accepted default recipe. And this one is rye as our default, 3/4 ounce. Followed by brandy, or specifically a cognac. I happen to have a grape brandy from a local distiller. This one here is actually for their Negroni, which is fantastic. Same, 3/4 ounce. And then another 3/4 ounce of sweet vermouth. Now, these seem pretty straightforward. It's that same equal parts that we've seen from the other recipes of rye, in this case, brandy instead of bourbon, and then sweet vermouth. But then we kick it up again with a 1/2 ounce of Benedictine, however you want to say it. So this is just a 1/2. And in this case, my large measure is the wrong thing. I should have brought over my shot pour. Followed by 2 dashes each of Angostura and Peychaud's, exactly. Oh yes. And then this is where we will top with ice. Give it a real good stir. And here there's actually a debate over whether you want to use glass or metal. It does depend on how much dilution you want. Glass, being a better thermal insulator, will provide more heat back and increase the dilution of the cocktail. Metal will not promote as much dilution, but will chill equally as well. So here, finish it off. And to Lee's glee, I'm sure, where you will be serving this one up. And this one also has many different garnish variations, but I happen to prefer the cherry. And just because I happen to have them, I wanted to do the classic neon colored cherry. These happen to be really nice ones, though. They've got that snap and crisp of your classic, dive bar cherry, but they have a much more delicate flavor, closer to a rum or a high quality cherry. And as before, enjoy.